Thank you for listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data your passion. With your host, Dapper Data.
Let's go. Are you ready to listen? Are you ready to listen, my dolly?
What's up, y'all? You're listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data your passion with your host, Dapper Data. Thank you for tuning in once again. I have a very, very, very special guest coming on today. This person, she has been an intricate part to shoot my dissertation, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a few. But today, we have a very important topic to discuss. It's serious in the data science world. I don't know anybody else, but it's serious in our world, for sure. But I want to talk a little bit about how do you turn data into value, and what we see is that every company collects data, some more than others, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it does not matter how much data you're collecting if you can't do anything with it, and if you can't turn it into value. And so that's something that's very important to the data science industry. And that really takes a business mindset, I want to say. So this is where we decided to say, hey, look, we're going to reach out to the experts that understand how to turn data into value. And so I brought to you an expert in data visualization, an expert in being able to turn data into value. And this person, just to give a little background on this person, I actually met this person on Instagram, and I look back at when I met this person. It was actually about, let's see, we're in May now, or June now, so it's a little over a month ago. It was May 1st, right? So May 1st, I actually tried to connect to, for probably about 2 weeks before that, I was trying to connect to multiple data scientists. And I would get connections back and forth, but I actually tried to reach out and go into the Instagram Messenger and try to direct message a lot of different data scientists. And I only got feedback from this one person, this person right here, that's here with me. And I'm so glad that she reached out to me, because sometimes when you're going through the branding process, or when you're trying to become an expert at something, you're trying to reach out to other people. If you don't get feedback right away, you get a little discouraged. But it happened at the right moment. And just to talk a little bit about how this person actually helped me out with my dissertation topic, when I reached out to her, I said, hey, look, what are your thoughts on this or that, with related to data science? And I mean, I learned probably about a paragraph or more worth of information in the span of like 3 minutes. So that tells you how smart this person is. So this person really helped me narrow down my dissertation, and I'm sure that we'll have a great connection going forward. But without further introduction, I just want to introduce you to the founder of Datatechcon and data visualization expert, Tobe. Say hi, Tobe.
Hi guys.
Yeah, thank you for
Hi.
coming on the podcast. So Tobe, tell them a little bit about yourself. What you do, where you're from. What are you currently doing now?
All right, thank you so much for having me. So I am Toby. I'm a data scientist and the founder of Datatechcon, a data training and consulting company whose mission is to help increase data literacy and train the future data scientists and analytics leaders to help fulfill data jobs, especially in underrepresented communities. I am originally from Nigeria and I moved out to the US for my master's program in computer and information systems. I live in California and I currently work as a data science and analytics manager in a Fortune
Mm.
200 healthcare company where I leverage data science and machine learning to create BI solutions and predictive models to help businesses make informed decisions. So I have about 10 years experience overall
Mm.
in tech. Yeah, 6 years plus in data. So I'm pretty much well rounded when it comes to tech. I started my career as a system administrator,
Mm.
transitioned into web development, and finally transitioned into data. So in data, I have worked across various domains, ranging from retail, analyzing retail data, financial data,
Oh,
marketing
nice.
data, sales, and healthcare data. So pretty much I am well rounded when it comes to like analyzing data, coming up with like KPIs, metrics that track the projection towards goals. And honestly, I think this is one of the most interesting field. And I feel everybody, even the ones that are non-technical, can easily transition into this field with proper mentorship and guidance from experts.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, so you hit on something that was very very important to me, and helping the audience understand that data science is probably one of the best and most interesting fields, in the
Absolutely.
industry right now. And so why data science, right? I mean, when you're going through all these paths, you have all these different paths you could take in the world, right? And so you decided to say, hey, look, I'm going to choose data science. Were you influenced by the money? Were you influenced by the passion of data? What made you say data science?
All right, so I can tailor this back to my final capstone during my master's program.
Mm.
We were tasked with a project to analyze crime rates in Chicago, use
Oh man.
collecting data directly, yeah, from data.org and leveraging Tableau data visualization tool. So
Hmm.
I was one of the team leaders for the group, and pretty much, I think my room came up as the first position because I was excited about the whole thing. I was like, oh, wow, I want to get more insight or derive more insight to understand because I pretty much moved to the US. I was like, oh, this is going to be an interesting like project for
Right,
me.
right.
I want to understand better like what causes crime in Chicago? How are people being like arrested? What
Mm,
ethnicity? What race? Like
mm,
what exactly impacts what kind of crimes, what are the highest crimes, the lowest crimes, and all. So after the whole project, I was pretty much drilled with the insight I really uncovered. And after my master's, I was like, oh, I think because I have a technical background, I know a lot about database already, collecting data, storing data, and all.
hmm.
I was like, okay, now I can collect data, store data. How about me analyzing the data and presenting it to like the businesses to make informed decisions? So I can say data science because data science is all about leveraging building a technical solution to help businesses solve real problems.
Right, right. I mean, you're absolutely right. And but then to take it a step further, right? I mean, I've seen people go into data science. Well, I've seen data scientists that were programmers, that were developers, right? That were coders or something, or mathematicians, statisticians, data visualization experts, data mining experts, right? So there's
Right.
different parts of data science that you can actually take, and you can say, hey, I'm a data scientist too. I actually did a
Right.
post. One of my first posts, I said, it had about, I think it had about 5 or 6 hands. They raised their hand and said, and I said, who is a data scientist? And it was every field that you can think of almost. And
Right.
a lot of people say, hey, I'm a data scientist. And so, what made you say, uh, I'm not going to choose statistician, right? I'm not going to choose mathematician. I'm not going to choose being a programmer. I'm going to choose data visualization. I mean, I know that data visualization can be used in things like determining the frequencies, finding different patterns and stuff. And it seems like that may be one of the most important fields in the industry. Can you touch on that? Why did you choose data visualization out of everything else?
Okay, so I'm gonna get started by talking a little bit about data science. Like we know we have various domains in data science. So data
Hmm.
science is small. I think it's just a new buzzword for like computer science, right? Just
Ah,
like being a
yeah.
computer scientist, you can work in various domains because you're being taught like everything from software, web
Mm,
development, networking, and it's left for you to decide on what niche you want to like concentrate in based on your passion and your
right.
expertise, right? So with data science, it's more about like data mining, data storage, data collection. But at the end of the day, you are going to be presenting those data sets you have actually collected, analyzed, transformed to like non-technical savvy. So that is
Mm.
where we have
Right.
to be considerate about how the human brain process information, right?
Right.
We are dealing in the fourth industrial revolution era of like automation, innovation, smart technologies, and
Mhm.
era of big data. And the projected data volume in 2020 is going to be 2.5 quintillion bytes. That is
Mm.
huge in terms of volume, veracity, velocity, and veracity as well. So that is huge. So
Right.
how do you expect humans to like easily scroll through rows of data? Like we're talking about big data and
Right.
understand exactly what they want to pitch in. So that is where data visualization comes in. So data visualization is a great way to tell a compelling data story to your
Mhm.
audience, especially because every time you are creating a data visualization or an interactive dashboard solution, the first thing we consider is we consider the audience. Who are we presenting the data to? We are presenting to like non-technical people. We're presenting to C-level executive people that are in charge of decision
Yeah.
making. They don't have time to scroll through rows of data.
Right.
Just the
Or
same
they
way it was.
probably don't understand the roles of data either,
Exactly, they don't understand that because
right?
we're talking about big data, like rows of data with like multiple columns and stuff. There's
Right.
no
Right.
how they can understand that in 5 seconds. So data, that's where data visualization comes in. It's all about you aggregating the data and creating a centralized platform whereby whoever you're presenting the data to can easily understand that just by a glance. Looking at
Right.
the charts and visuals or graphs you have actually put together for them to like understand the data even without you being there. So that is
Right.
the concept of data visualization, and that is why it is very important.
Yeah, yeah, and I can see why you chose it, right? Because you're helping people actually
Yeah,
make that final
yeah,
decision, right? And that's and I
exactly.
and I think that's important to understand because a lot of people get caught up in things that are not the business mindset portion.
Right,
And the business
right.
mindset, that's where you get into the data visualization part because
Got it.
as a C level exec, right, they're not going to care about those rows and rows of data, right? They're like, hey, look, how
Right.
does this make me money? How does this make me
Exactly.
transform my company? What are
Right,
you trying to say?
right,
How can I make a better investment in
right,
in whatever decision I'm trying to make? And also, how can I have supportive evidence that I can show the world as to the reason why I made this decision, right? They want to be able to support it
right,
as well. And what better way to do it than pretty charts and graphs, just to dumb it down a little bit, because
right.
that's what it is, right? You're giving these charts, you're giving these graphs, you're finding unique patterns and stuff in the data, and you can do it real time too if you want to, and that's the end
Absolutely.
result, and so
Right.
that's
You
really
can
cool.
integrate like the data sources directly to like the BI solution or whatever
Mhm.
software you're using and the data reports in real time. Because we have to keep in mind majority of the people collecting the data are non-tech savvy. So data
Mm.
integrity have a long role to play in this aspect. For
Mhm.
instance, the CRM data. These data information are collected by sales reps. They literally like type it, so there's a lot of missing values and stuff, a
Right,
lot of
right. They're not
human
technical at
error.
all. Yeah.
Exactly. So they
Okay.
just and you have to like be considerate because they put in those information as they speak with the customer over the phone. So yeah, we are all human. We expect
Yeah.
to have errors and stuff. That's where the data scientists come in to like
Mhm.
clean up the data
Gotta
and
clean it
transform
up.
the data. So
Yeah.
literally we spend about 60 to 70% of our time cleaning up the data that was
That's my
collected.
favorite part right there. I would say that. I love the data mining. I love cleaning it. I love
Yeah,
finding
I
those
love it
human
too.
errors.
Right.
Um, I don't know if I love the statistical side yet. I've been deeply involved in it, trying to do my degree, but still that math side of things. I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you like the math side of things?
Yeah, my bachelor's was in computer science and statistics. So
Hmm.
statistics is all about when you hear analysis, analysis is simply applying statistics. So
Hmm.
we're talking about descriptive statistics, we're talking about
Yeah.
inferential statistics.
Inferential. Yeah.
It's all about you applying that. It depends on the tool you're using, Python, Power BI. even Excel, they all have different functions. And
Mhm.
based on the functions or based on the analysis, for instance, you're trying to search for, look for the variance, standard deviation, and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
based on whatever tool you're using, that's where you have to like come up with the exact function that matches that tool. So yeah,
Right.
I love statistics. I used to
Yeah.
be one of the best students in
Yeah. Oh,
statistics.
nice.
I love maths. Yeah. So math has been my foundation. I think that's why I really like enjoy data science.
That's great. That's great. So I don't know if you talk too much about it, but you are actually just to drill it down, your specialty and focus within the field is healthcare. You know,
Correct.
and being in healthcare, the healthcare industry, people don't understand. I saw this article the other day. Let me see if I can find it real quick because I had it. But the article was saying that healthcare is the most significant revenue generating industry across the globe. And we're talking about it's going to take over the health, it's going to take over the market and increase by 34.27 billion by 2022. And what you see is you see healthcare being one of the major focuses on within the data science industry. And
Right.
you being in healthcare and having a focus on that, how do you believe data visualization is impacting the healthcare industry?
Okay, so I can talk to that because I am in the industry, and when it comes to healthcare, I can honestly say data science is really impacting the industry. Because I mean, we've been able to like leverage a lot of technologies and apply it to like everything that has to do with like health, and just
Mm-hmm.
to like improve the overall operation performance and also patient health. So when it comes to healthcare, there are a lot of ways we can leverage it. And the first thing I have to call out is with healthcare, we work with a lot of data, right? We work with clinical data, we work with
Mm-hmm.
medical data, billing data, healthcare provider data, and all. So it can be applicable on all areas of healthcare. We
Mm-hmm.
leverage that and things like chatbot. For AI, that's where we respond to people. However, when it comes to healthcare, things like chatbot can actually work in like industries like retail, e-commerce, but when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to healthcare, I think it is pretty minimal because at the end of the day, the patient still needs to like be in contact with a doctor, right? So
Right,
for
right.
healthcare industry, data science and AI is going to make a huge impact. However, it is not going to replace doctors. It's just going to
Mm-hmm.
help doctors like um, iterate a lot of repetitive processes in jobs, like things like
Oh,
leveraging AI. Yeah, leveraging
okay.
AI to like scan, maybe medical scan, taking scan, X-rays, and all that stuff. It's just
Yeah.
going to help them like improve the processes, especially like things like patient wait time. I remember analyzing the data just for us to like be able to like improve the overall wait time of patient, right? We
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
see the data. How long do they spend when they get admitted, when they get
Yeah.
discharged? How long do they even take to like see the first person right in the
Right, right.
hospital? So
And then
these
you
are
can
the
see why
areas,
it does that. Yeah, I've been doing
right?
that with the restaurant as
Exactly.
well. Yeah, the
So
wait time is key.
exactly. Right. So you're going to start with your patients because in healthcare, the patients are considered the customers. And
Mhm.
remember, customer satisfaction is key, right? So
Mhm.
you are trying to like come up with like technologies to like simplify the whole process and make it like smooth and I mean, make them like happy at the end of the day. Their satisfaction is what you rely on to make those revenues. So it is very important in healthcare and it can be leveraged across various functions in healthcare. However, we have a lot of limitations because of the security stuff, the HIPAA
Mhm.
compliance, compatibility, which simply means the data integrity. The data is coming from different electronic health recording system, electronic medical record system, and remember,
Right.
those data sets are collected by non-technical people. So there's no how the data is going to match. We have to do the data modeling, cleaning transformation to like create those solutions at the end of the
Yeah.
day. And
Yeah.
another major part of data science that plays like key role in healthcare is the predictive analytics part.
Mhm.
Being able to leverage historic data to predict the likelihood of patient recovering in real time or a certain time, being able to leverage predictive data to like predict like things like detect diseases.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
can
That's
tailor
key.
this back to like coronavirus. We've been able to like collect bunch of data, and based on this, we've created things like chatbot that actually like stand for like maybe patient that feel like they have coronavirus, just to like
Mhm.
help them like come up with like symptoms, best practices, and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that, just to help like improve the overall health quality of both patient and also
Mhm.
the overall operation of
And
healthcare.
people don't understand why when I go into as a patient, I've heard people complain. They say, "Oh man, I go into this hospital, or I go into the urgent care, and I have to fill out all this information. I just have to give them
Right.
all this information. What do they need to know this for? I'm here because I know my big toe hurts, but you care about my age or something. And so they don't understand. That data is collected by multiple people over time, and it's historical data they can store and store and store, and then they can connect it to things.
Right.
And over time, they
And
can find
another thing,
unique patterns, right?
right. And another thing I need to point out when it comes to healthcare data, before any analysis, there's something we call de-identifying. We have to de-identify the data set.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one major challenge healthcare data have when it comes to data analysis and
Mm-hmm.
machine learning. Because I mean, these are like people's personal privacy, and with the HIPAA
Mm-hmm.
policy, it is very important. Security, like you are not going to be able to like recognize any familiar name whatsoever, social security number, any PII,
Okay.
yeah, identity information or something like that. So it is one of the shortfalls when it comes to like, especially when you have to like analyze medical data or maybe lab data. So
Right,
those
right.
are the things
I
to
mean,
identify.
I don't know if the person's name. I mean, you might be able to make connections, because you've been in the industry of data science much longer. But the person's name or social security and stuff. Do you think that those things can provide some type of value even to the person? I mean, we're hiding it, but could they provide value? I don't know.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because that can be tied down to like the person's medical history, right? So
Okay.
that's the thing. Yeah, you're collecting data from disparate sources. Keep that in mind. So you're collecting customer
Uh-huh.
information data from one database. You're collecting the medical record from one database. But at the end of the day, we still need to aggregate the data by creating a relationship or like
Yeah.
using joins if we're working with like Microsoft SQL servers and stuff. So
Mhm.
we have to create a relationship for the data coming from disparate data sources to talk to each other before you can even create a visualization. So if there's no relationship and you try to like use the slicers and filter, it's not going to like replicate, it's not going
Right.
to like
Right.
display the actual record. So it is very important, even if you're working with like 10 different, because I work on a project. The project I worked on, I think last week, it was actually like 20 pages of dashboard solutions, including predictive models, and
Mm.
every view had data coming in from a minimum of at least 5 sources.
Oh man.
So it's a lot at the back
How long did
end
that
creating.
take to do it?
Yeah, it takes like, I mean, that's the problem because I mean, it's a 9 to 5 and they're like all about deadlines and stuff
Yeah. Oh
compared to
yeah.
when you're a consultant and you have to set your time yourself. So those are the pros and cons of like
Yeah.
working 9 to 5 and being a consultant working for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And y'all heard that. Y'all heard that from Toby. Make sure you give up that social security number. Don't be scared to do it because it is important information, right? You know.
Yeah, it is
So
important, but it is protected. So
yeah.
no one is
Hmm.
going to see that. We don't see that in the front end
Right,
whatsoever.
right,
It's literally de-identified before we start our analysis, so we cannot even recognize anybody. So
right.
it is 100% secured, and we have to go through a lot of HIPAA training before we even like leverage or work on any patient's data.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Right,
something that you brought up that it just made me think about it. You were talking about some of the most important things about the data you're collecting. It just dawned on me. Probably one of the most important things is the accuracy of the data. Right? You probably
right,
have to make sure that whether it's the patient's, as something as small, or we may think as small as the patient's phone number, email address, or contact information, needs to be accurate, or even diving into, okay, well, the blood type,
Right.
whether they have a history of certain types of diseases in the family. All that stuff needs to be pretty accurate for things like diagnosing another
Right.
disease in their system and stuff.
Right.
So that's important. I didn't know. I didn't think about how important. I mean, that's when you're talking about cleaning the data. We always talk about making sure it's accurate, but the healthcare industry is probably one of the most places, most important places to
Oh
make sure
yeah,
that the
and
data
I
is
can
accurate.
also talk about being in the data. That's why most times in healthcare industries, when we come up with hypotheses, test the hypothesis before the
Mhm.
theory, it's always we have to be in the data. For instance, the age group, right? When you get the
Mhm.
data, you're gonna see like all patients or like all healthcare members,
Mhm.
they have like different age group from 0 to 100, right?
Mhm.
However, when you translate that data or transform that data into a visual, it's not
Mhm.
going to have 0 to 100, right? We create what we call a bucket or a bin that group the age, maybe like in 10, maybe from 50 to 60 or above 60,
Oh.
mid age. That's why at the end of the day, when you hear about the coronavirus, we always like categorize based on the bin, like, oh, the people that have the likelihood of contacting the disease are above 60, right?
Ah,
But the data
gotcha.
did not come that way. Yeah, it literally came in like from the actual age of the individual person. But
Mhm.
those are the things you have to do at the back end when you start creating your data model. Those are the things you have to like come up with. No one is going to tell you what you need to do. You are the data scientist or the data analyst, and everything comes with years of experience.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure well, going through that whole process and being in the healthcare industry, you probably use several tools to do things like visualization, process, or even before that, collecting the data, but tools, data visualization tools, data science tools are always important in the industry. So what data visualization tools do you see most often used right now in the industry itself?
Okay, I can talk about like, I mean, throughout my years of experience as a data scientist, I literally started as a data analyst, which is just a junior role of a data scientist, right?
Hmm.
So I have worked with Power BI, Tableau, Google Data Studio, and I think I do like a lot of visualization with Python too. But when we talk about business intelligence tools, these are tools that can actually transform those data into the BI solution. So that's where we're talking about. The major ones I leverage: Power BI, Tableau, and R Shining. So
Mm.
these are like the main tools. And some organization, you find yourself like they have like multiple of the tools. Like in my current organization, we have a lot. So it depends on what job functions or what industry I am
Hmm.
actually like analyzing data in, I'll decide the tool I want to use. But I am
Uh-huh.
well rounded because I've worked with like both tools, even from my college days and up till now. So that is the
Right, right.
fun fact.
So which one you said so out of those, right? You named Tableau, you named Google, which I just heard, and I'm sorry, I know it seems like I'm a rookie and stuff, but I just heard Google's the Google
Google
Studio
Data
one.
Studio.
Yeah, yeah, I
Right.
just heard about that. Probably about I read it in an article about a week or two
Oh
ago, and I was
wow.
like,
Oh,
man,
I've been
yeah,
using
yeah.
that. Yeah. I was using that I think in 2017 at my
Hmm.
job because they were
That's
like, I
amazing.
mean, so that's the good part. Like it doesn't matter the size of the industry. If you're a small business, yeah, we have a lot of tools that can fit your pocket, right? So
Hmm.
that's why it is very important every industry can adapt data science.
So
We have a lot of cost effective like tools and even free tools we can leverage
yeah,
things like
yeah,
Google Analytics. That's like pretty free, and Google is providing that to everybody to collect data, especially when you have a website. Implement
yeah,
that, start
yeah.
collecting
We use
data,
that for the
and based
restaurant.
on that, yeah, based on that you can make informed decision, and it can
Hmm.
also help you like improve the overall performance of your website as well.
Yeah, and that's something you don't even need, like Google Analytics. You don't need to be an expert in data science or anything like that for that. You can it kind of tells you pretty much everything, right? Or do you?
Right. You actually do though when the company is bigger, right? So like
Oh, gotcha.
yeah, 'cause, once it gets bigger, you're not gonna like do everything right in Google Analytics. There's something we call Google Tag Manager, right? You have
Mm,
to implement tags on all the tools the company is leveraging
Okay.
into Google to start tracking and collecting data. Tools like Optimize, things like Marketo, tools like
Mhm.
call tracking numbers,
Oh,
QNX, a
right,
lot
right,
of
right.
tools, right? So once the companies start getting bigger, like I said, I work in a Fortune 200 company, so we have a lot of tools, if not a lot of softwares, if not more than 200. So at the end
Mhm.
of the day, you're not going to integrate all those tags into Google Analytics. That's where Google Tag Manager comes in. That is where
Mhm.
we create and implement all the tags that come in from various softwares, things like
Mhm.
tracking calls, phone calls. Like I track
Right,
phone
right.
calls, I can track things like how many people clicked on the website, how many people contacted us, how many people downloaded the form on the website. So all those things are considered
Mhm.
event tracking on the website. And to get that to that point, we need to set what we call the variable, the trigger, and the tags. And that is where it gets technical. And we use the GTM for that.
Right, right. So, but that's probably as they get, I guess, like you said, as they get bigger. For small businesses itself, do you think
Right.
they can probably handle the Google Analytics, or are there other tools out there that you recommend for a small business to just use just to track some of the basic stuff?
Yeah, I think the first tool, I mean, every business should have is the Google Analytics tool because
Okay.
one, the first goal is for you to start up a business. The first goal is for you to create a website. And once the website is up and running, the second thought is how do I drive traffic to my website? That is where
Mhm.
digital marketing comes in. Once you start deploying digital marketing implementation and tactics, the next thing is how do I understand what customers are actually doing on my website. So that is what
Right,
we
right.
call customer engagement and behavior. So that is where the web analytics comes in, right? So that tool can help you integrate your Google digital marketing tactics and softwares directly into Google Analytics, and you can collect data and you can start analyzing to make informed decisions.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, great. I mean, that's great advice right there. And so we talk about some of the tools. I know you listed the Tableau, BI. I mean, you listed the BI, you listed Tableau, and then what about things like open source tools? And why not open source?
Right. So the first thing, I mean, one major important thing when it comes to data is
Mhm.
security, right? It is
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
important, especially in healthcare, right? Even deploying or even saving stuff on Google Drive that contains PII, which is personal identifier information, things
Mhm.
like your phone number, address, social security number. We don't even advise that because security is very
Ah.
important. We see a lot of data breach. Yeah. So organizations like enterprise other organizations that have like domains and stuff, they
Mhm.
would never go that route except it's secured, right? So that's why we go with like trusted parties. I mean, Microsoft have been like one of the top software
So you got
companies for
BI.
years and years, and they can also create personalized software or features to like meet the industry need,
Mhm.
right? So, for instance, we deployed Microsoft Azure, which is the cloud computing for like big data and stuff like that.
Right.
Before they deploy those tools or softwares or technologies, they want to like find out what is the company's need. So the first thing for healthcare is always the security part. So
Mhm.
every organization or every software we have to use, we make sure they have HIPAA compliance.
Mm, that is very
Right.
important right there. Yeah,
Very important in
yeah.
healthcare. They don't joke with HIPAA. Yeah. And you can go to jail for that. So I advise everyone, you can look that up. It is
Yeah.
very important. Yeah. Very, very important. Security is like one major thing. So it's okay if you're like a small company, you're just trying to like get started and all. However, once you start getting clients and you feel like, oh, yeah, the business has started making money, it's very important to go with a secure tool, like
Mhm.
whatsoever. Yeah. Because I mean,
Yeah,
I think Google Data Studio is pretty free. There's still a lot of bugs in there, right?
yeah,
Unlike you
yeah.
just pay like maybe $20 monthly to like have Power BI, and you can leverage like to the maximum like ability. You can even
Mhm.
like once you found the solution, you can deploy directly to the cloud, and you can have your stuff like secured. So
Right.
yeah, I know when it comes to like small businesses, cost can be a constraint, but it is very important once you start getting clients and you start making revenue, it is important to consider all those things.
Yeah, it's about quality, right? I mean, you want to make sure that you
Right,
have a quality product where you don't have to have any worries, right? I mean, that's how some
right.
people go. They go into a house and they're saying, "Look, I'd rather buy a brand new house because I want this
Exactly.
house. I don't want to have to worry
Mhm.
about fixing anything in the long run. I don't want to
Right,
worry about any security issues. I don't want to have to worry about anything, you know." So yeah,
right.
that's definitely something to keep in mind. And again, I'll reiterate, you know, because I've read a lot about this. HIPAA is very important. Being HIPAA compliant. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
glad you brought that up. That's probably one of the most important things that I've
yeah.
felt that I've heard about in the industry when going through my doctorate degree. They talk about how if you're dealing with data, you're dealing with the health industry, you know, that you need to understand through and through, you know, what it means to be HIPAA compliant and
Right.
what it means to not be. And so that's very important. You know, I'm glad you brought that up. One thing I wanted
Yeah.
to touch on, I thought this, and I saved this towards the end because I think this is very important. This is very dear to my heart, and I know to you as well. You know, being from Nigeria, you know, what would you like to see in data science or artificial intelligence or machine learning or whatever part of data science? You know, what would you like to see accomplished in Africa as a continent? You know, or in Nigeria as a country itself from data
Okay,
science
I
perspective?
can get started by talking about Africa as a continent. I think the major industry, and not just Africa, I think the whole world, right? The major
Mhm.
industry that we need to like leverage this data science and AI is like healthcare. I mean, we all
Mm.
know like healthcare is all about us. It's all about me. It's
Yeah.
about you, right? It's all about how to get better, how to like improve our health, and these can only be applicable if we can leverage innovative technologies, smart technologies, automation, and all that stuff. You don't want to go to the hospital and you want to spend like maybe 3 hours without someone even like physically seeing you and all. We have
Yeah.
a lot of things like telehealth, chatbots, and all we can
Yeah.
all integrate. And for Nigeria, I think we still pretty much have a long way to go. We have to start first by talking about how to collect data, how to store data.
Ah,
I don't
right.
think I don't even know if any African country have a centralized database. Yeah,
Yeah.
because even when we got to like the coronavirus, the way they were reporting the data, it was just obvious. Like we don't even have a centralized data storage,
Yeah.
and we can't even like. I mean, these are like our citizens, right? We want to make
Yeah.
the country better. We want to be able to like track our citizens and know like exactly when to like come in, when to help people, and all that. So I think that's the first thing because you cannot analyze something you don't have, right? So
Yeah.
you have to start from the fundamental, which is literally to like collect data,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
Once you
there's different
collect
ways of
data,
collecting it, right? Because a lot of
right,
them
you
don't
can
even know
collect
that some of them
exactly.
don't know they're collecting, but then a lot of times they don't even know where to start collecting the data.
Right.
You can be a social
And some of
media, you can be
them,
a whatever.
right, some of them even collect the data, but the question is, how do they store the data? So that's
Mm.
where the database comes in. Some people collect the data in just like the traditional hard copy and all. I mean, this
Mm.
is like 40
They're
years
still doing
strong.
that. Yeah.
Like, I mean, you get a system, you impute that. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything to like
Mhm.
have a fully functional database, especially like in small businesses out there in Africa. You go to like African stores, maybe restaurants and all, they don't even have something as small as a security camera.
Mhm.
So it
You're
is a
right.
lot. Like when it comes to technology, it's still like a lot. Like you still need a long way to go. So, but
Yeah.
what I'm gonna advise and like what I'm trying to like how I can impact the country is also helping like train the next generation of data scientists
Mm.
and
That's a
data
good
analysts.
point.
Because at the end of the day, when we implement those technologies or deploy those technologies, the question is, do we have people that are highly trained to like manage those technologies? So that is
Right.
where it is very essential to also train the younger people and let them know like there are a lot of skills
Right.
needed in technical careers. So and you can do it. Start from high school. Start focusing on jobs, or sorry, start focusing on subjects that are like STEM related. So that way
Mhm.
you can be one of the citizens that can make an impact in the country or the nation as a
Yeah,
whole.
yeah. No, that's a good point because they don't, and I was going to touch on education in general. Like no education in the world can really afford a tutor for every child or anything like that. But starting to really, maybe we can all um, train the artificial intelligence or machine learning to kind of make it more personalized
Right.
from a teaching standpoint as well. But like you said, just going all the way back, I mean, before we even get to AI and ML, I mean, how do they even
Exactly.
collect and
Right.
store the data, right?
Right.
And that's
Right.
something
So
I didn't
that's
think about.
exactly right. That's exactly what I say. Like people are always fast, like coming up to me like, oh, I want to be a data scientist, right?
Mhm,
Yeah, everyone is interested in becoming a data scientist. However, I know a lot of people like based on the data I have collected for my survey, I know a lot of people just like after being a data scientist just because it's a buzzword and because of the
mm,
pay, right? I
right, right.
always advise people, especially the non-technical people, you want to start from the fundamental, right? You
Yeah.
want to learn how to like how does it work before you start
Mhm,
using the tool. How exactly does it work? Like the instance I just gave you. Yeah, you're a business owner, you want to start up a business. How does it work? What
yeah.
strategies are you creating around that? The first step is to register your business, get your website. The next question is how do you intend to drive traffic to your website? So
Mhm,
it is very important to like start from the fundamental. And if
yeah.
you're not like really technically inclined, it is very important to reach out to somebody. Look for a mentor and they can break it down to you. You don't want to like just hop into a job and feel like, oh yeah, I just want the title, data
Right.
science or sciences and all. I have worked in a lot of places. We hired like data scientists, data analysts, and we didn't take more than maybe like 2 months. They let them go because they
Oh
were
man.
not competent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is
I mean,
real out
something
there.
as
It is
basic as a like just the database itself, right? They don't even
right,
understand. I
right,
remember,
exactly.
I just responded to something on social media about how a lot of people they were asking about database as a service and how that's impacting the world. What's your thought as a data scientist?
Right.
And I was thinking, well, it is sad, but that's the part that a lot of us skip because that's not the cool, sexy
Yeah, a
part, right?
lot of people,
You know,
yeah, true. A lot of
yeah,
people skip that part because they just want to like run into
yeah,
machine learning.
right,
Machine learning is just a
right.
couple of lines of code. Like that is like that's like the least thing ever, like in the
Yeah,
field. That's just a couple of lines of code. There
yeah,
are a lot. And another thing is just think about it like, oh, everyone dominating this industry, this field and all. Think about
hmm
it in the next 10 years, is it still gonna be a buzzword or stuff?
mm,
What do you think? And you see people going in like, oh, I want to have a master's in data science, right? How
yeah,
about you having a master's in computer science so that way you can be well rounded? When
yep,
this buzzword fades out, you can easily transition into the next available data science like domain. So it is very important data storage. So that's the role database play very important before you can because you can remember you cannot collect, you cannot analyze what you don't have, right? You
right,
need
right.
to
You
have
get,
the data
you have to
collected,
collect it. You gotta
stored,
know how to collect
right,
it. You gotta
before you
store it
even
somewhere.
start analyzing. And like
hmm
we said, garbage in, garbage out. So if
Yeah,
you
you're
don't know
right.
how it's collected and how it starts, then definitely I don't think
Mhm.
you'll be like really, really like cool, like presenting the data or even transforming the data. So very
Right.
important.
Right. Well, thank you, Toby. I appreciate it. I'm not going to hold you any longer, but as we always say, data science is very important. Like you mentioned, it is a buzzword. And we have to really get down to the foundational part. So that's a good gem that you definitely provided. To our audience. And speaking on data visualization, specifically, I always look at data visualization. I always like to talk about how you're turning data into value. Making better investments, making being able to support have a foundation or something to support your decision that you're making. And it
Right.
provides us with like a quick and clear understanding of the information as well. So before I go ahead and head off, do you have any final things you want to say to everybody about data science?
Yeah, sure. One final thing I want to say to everybody is everyone, anybody can become a data scientist or a data analyst. Don't let anybody tell you you cannot. It
Mm,
doesn't matter what your background is. Your background in data science stands as your superpower. So that
mm,
is your domain expertise because at the end of the day, we are analyzing data based on different job functions and industry. For instance, you're analyzing marketing data, you need to
mm,
have some kind of marketing background, right? So your domain stands as your superpower. So the only thing you need to learn is how to leverage those data analytics tools and technologies to transform data into actionable insight to help the
mm,
business improve its value. So we can all do it. However, I always advise people and recommend go slowly but surely because I know a lot of
mm.
people are always like feeling like, oh, I want to learn data science in 2 years 2 weeks. It is
Right.
not that easy, right? It is not. You don't want to like just sit down on the computer, start watching
You
video
cannot
from
do it
now
in
to
two
next
weeks.
year. Exactly. It comes with years of expertise, but
Hmm.
the last thing I'm going to say is practice, practice, practice. The
Mm,
more you practice with these tools, the more you get better and the more you uncover and your experience start playing a lot in the field. So we all can do it. Don't let anyone discourage you. You can do it. You need a mentor, you can reach out to or anybody on Instagram
yeah,
that you see
yeah,
that have like
yeah.
a data science or data analytics profile. And
Hmm.
also, if you feel like you're part of the underrepresented community or like minority, you can reach out to like people like you so that way we can
Yeah.
guide you and also provide you the best guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's very dope. Thank you for I really appreciate you being on the podcast, Toby. And again, you all find your superpower, and run with it and stuff within data science. I like that.
Right.
So you've been listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data your passion. And again, I'm your host, Dapper Data. Thanks again, Toby, for being on. You can always reach me at Mr. Dapper Data on any of the social media links. So, Toby, where can they reach you at?
Yeah, you can reach me at datatechcon.com. Sorry, www.datatechcon.com or on Instagram, datatechcon.com.
Okay. And I meant to. Do you have? I know you're always promoting at classes, things like that. Do you have anything coming up that they can sign up
Yeah,
for?
absolutely. So, like I said at the beginning of the whole interview and stuff, we actually run a data training company, right? So,
Mhm.
the way it works is we run like a 8 weeks boot camp that is more centered and focused on hands-on. So we are actually impacting like people of color, underrepresented community, and we're teaching them how to go from like zero experience to like being job ready and like getting those nailing those job and getting those positions as data scientists and data analysts. And I can say we've trained more than 100 plus people,
Oh man.
and pretty much the success rate has been super great with a on average the minimum student currently make like maybe $30 an hour, and
Mhm.
these were people with zero experience when they joined. And the good part is we've trained a lot of people irrespective of their background. We have a lot of people we've trained that have PhD,
Oh
masters, and
man.
bachelors. Yeah, because the part about PhD is they concentrate a lot on research. However,
Yeah,
when they
yeah.
come
Theory. They
out
don't do
from the
practice.
world, they need the practice, right? So
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
a lot of referrals on that, and
Mhm.
I am like pretty like glad to like be able to like make impact, especially around underrepresented communities.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, Toby. I appreciate it. Everybody, make sure you go to the website. Make sure you sign up. And I definitely would love to have you again. Thanks again for joining me on the Data is My Science podcast. I'll
No
talk to you later.
problem. All right, thank you for having me. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Data is My Science podcast, the show that makes data your passion. With your host, Dapper Data.
Cupid, let's go. Are you ready to listen? Are you ready